It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Next week. .06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. My name's Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. It's a Thursday, and I swear I can see the weekend from here.
Today's show is sponsored by Firefly Energy Drinks, made with real fireflies. It burns so good.
Yeah, and your belly lights up, too. It's kind of fun.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
Still watching some fires around Wyoming, especially Goshen County, Guernsey, and surrounding area. There's a pretty good sized one there that last I heard was still 0% contained. Working on it, though, and some other fires around Campbell County area. Not a whole lot in the state of Wyoming, but there's a couple out there that are pretty good size and have caused some homes and caused some problems. As the story develops, we'll keep telling you about that. There were some roads yesterday that were shut down because of, like, for example, if you are, let's say, between Douglas and Glendo, there's that highway, 26? It goes from I-25, it heads on over to Lusk. That was closed for a while just because of smoke and fire in the area. So there's quite a bit going on there. And again, as we get more information, we'll keep you up to date. And I know it affects a lot of people, not just because of the fire, but the smoke that's moving east has been rather thick on it. All right, let's get out of Wyoming real quick and head to this headline, which caught me not by surprise. I read this and thought, I am not surprised at all. Congress, thankfully, has gone on break for a while. The less time they spend in Congress trying to pass all sorts of laws, the better we are. So the fact that they're on break, good. Before they went on break, though, they left the budget hanging there. So when they get back, they will have about 15 days to get a budget together, or once again, your government runs out of money.
And billions 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 and billions.
And yes, I will play the money hole bit in just a bit. Here's the story. This, again, not surprised at all when I read this, and I blame both political parties for this. Congress will be out of Washington, thank God, for an entire month, I wish it was 6 months or more, of August. When the Senate leaves at the end of the week, which they're gone now, the House already is gone, and neither chamber is scheduled to return until September 9th. Congress is departing without sending any of the 12 yearly appropriations bill to Biden for his signature. When lawmakers return, they will have just 15 days to approve government funding. Otherwise, everything gets shut down. Now, how many times do we go through this? At least twice a year, at least, sometimes more. Quote, if history is prologue, we're going to have a continuing resolution. That's according to Senator Richard Blumenthal, Democrat, Connecticut. I see very little likelihood of a budget going through before the end of the year. I think we're destined to have a continuing resolution, unfortunately. So a continuing resolution is just a continuing resolution, meaning lawmakers will keep funding everything at current levels. However, there is bipartisan agreement that negatively impacts government operations. So to fully fund the government for an entire year, Congress needs to approve 12 bills to cover each department and agency. The House approves 5 of the 12 appropriation bills on a party line basis every time. Republicans slash funding to a level that Senate Democrats would never accept, so the bills are dead on arrival in that chamber. The Senate Appropriations Committee is working on a bipartisan basis to approve 11 out of the 12 bills before members leave, but that's not going to happen. And the bills have received, it already hasn't happened, have received a vote by the full chamber, would have added another $34 billion in spending that Republicans oppose. So they already, here's another $34 billion extra over what we've already spending that we want to spend. Lawmakers didn't think they'd be able to get this done before the end of this Congress, which is the 118th Congress in December. So that means the work of fully funding the federal government will have to wait until newly elected president, House and Senate is sworn in. They don't think they're going to get anything done this year. And we go through this again at least twice a year, sometimes more than that. And neither party has ever really been able to get this together. And both parties like to claim that they are the fiscally responsible party, but neither is, as they continue to spend more and more.
With all economic factors indicating the U.S. is heading for a prolonged recession, some experts are suggesting that the government should stop dumping all of our money into an enormous hole. Is it time to close the national money hole?
That kind of talk is alarmist and irresponsible.
America needs the money hole.
Right. Driving truckloads of money out into the New Mexico desert and dumping it into a massive pit is one of America's greatest traditions.
It's a national treasure.
Now, look, no reasonable person is advocating that we are going to stop destroying money. But the American people earn that money. They have the right to decide how it should be destroyed.
Well, so you are in favor of personal money holes?
Yes, people should be able to dump money into a hole in their backyard or flush it down the toilet. Let the free market decide the most efficient way of destroying money.
My father worked 2 jobs so he'd have money to put in the money hole, and he never complained.
Now, you can't depend on private money holes to destroy that money.
Duncan's right. I mean, some of this money could blow away. Yes. Some of it may not be correctly buried. I mean, there's too many variables.
That's why the government pours gasoline into the money hole and lights it on fire to make sure all the money is destroyed.
I love the money fire.
It's just like they say, you have to throw money in a hole and set it on fire to make money.
Okay, but find the cheapest way to destroy that money, like shredding it up and feeding it to homes.
Tell that to the digger who's worked the graveyard shift for 20 years. Digging the hole is all he knows.
The sheer number of shovelers that it takes to maintain that hole.
But if we're talking about closing holes, I mean, what about the soldier hole? How about the energy hole? I mean, I can't believe that closing the money hole is even on the table.
Why are you pushing this pro-hole agenda? Is the money hole lobby paying you?
I resent that accusation. I do not take money from special interests. And if I did, I would throw it right in the hole because I am a patriot.
If you love America, you throw money in its hole.
And they will just keep doing that. And American people are not much help either. I mean, even so-called conservative Republicans, I meet all the time, that tell me about all sorts of government grant money that we should go ahead and apply for. Federal government grant money, which just continues to add to the problem. And, of course, the politicians know this gets them votes.
So what's the matter, Senator? Flushing all that taxpayer money down the toilet, clogging up the drain again?
And how? And nothing works when the money don't flow.
And I bet flushing all that Chinese money really clogs the pipes.
Oh, with interest. Yeah, Chinese money's the worst.
Well, Senator, to keep that money flowing, why not try this new pipe cleaner? It's called Debt Bomb.
Debt Bomb?
Yes, Debt Bomb, Senator. With all the pressure building up in the pipes from all that money you're flushing down the toilet, well, there's just simply no flow. You need something to clear the clog. But don't worry, the pressure will eventually build up that you can just shove Debt Bomb into the toilet and everything blows sky high.
Oh, way to go.
Why, there's nothing left. No, Senator, there's nothing. No economy, no country, nothing.
Well, you say that like it's a bad thing.
Endorsed by governments worldwide. It's inevitable. Debt Bomb.
Let me tell you folks about global warming, especially you young folks out there. Don't worry about it. And I'll tell you why. Just trust me on this. For as long as I have been alive, it's been hot in the summer.
Now, this right here is almost unbelievable. Some summers have been hotter than others.
Covering world-ending catastrophes for years to come. It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Find content, chat live, and listen on demand on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
6:23 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Let's get caught up in some of the fires out there. One of them, I got actually for two sources, Cowboy State Daily and Sweetwater Now. It's from Cowboy State Daily. Story says Haley Warner was running fire trucks, each filled with about 100 to 1,500 gallons of water, into the foothills of the Haystack Mountains late in the evening Tuesday for firefighters with the Guernsey Fire District. And I've seen some of the smoke, by the way, pictures of that. Wow. Thick stuff. He kept telling me it was a wreck up there and that the fire was moving in all directions. And I'd bring an empty truck back down and refill it and deliver it back up, and we repeated this several times, she said. The wind didn't help around midnight when hard-blowing winds whipped the fire up again after it sparked initially Sunday in a lightning strike. Haystack Fire, located Goshen County, combined overnight with the Pleasant Valley Fire, so that creates about a 28,000-acre burn area as of Wednesday afternoon, so don't know where it is today. I do know that right now it's 0% contained. Huge billowing clouds of white and black smoke visible from Guernsey. And as I had said yesterday, there was some roads, some highways in the area that were closed down. Not just because of the smoke, but the fire, too. So it's been very thick in that area, and they just keep fighting. Fire jumped from one area to another, causing the nearby town of Hartville to evacuate Tuesday night. In the early morning hours, local firefighters reported that the fire began to push toward Fort Laramie, but a line of firefighters, air tankers, and helicopters hit the fire with slurry and all sorts of things. Just slowed down the momentum. About 5 people from Hartville were evacuated to Camp Guernsey Joint Training Center just off of Highway 26 to stay at one of their air-conditioned barracks on the military base. And some people are wondering about their homes up there. So that's the one in that area. All right. Pleasant Valley cause is still unknown. That could have been lightning, too. Now, this is from Sweetwater Now. Fire closes I-80 eastbound of Rock Springs on Wednesday. So the Wyoming Department of Transportation closed Interstate 80 between, for once it wasn't because of snow. It closed Interstate 80 between Rawlins and Rock Springs Wednesday due to fire near Rawlins. According to WYDOT, District 3 Public Relations Specialist, the closure came after the fire jumped over the interstate near Rawlins. She said WYDOT hasn't determined when the interstate will reopen. So while I'm saying that, because I'm reading the story right now, I'm going to go, because I keep WYDOT close by. There's a website and an app that they have, so you can always go ahead and check road conditions. And see, don't show me that again. Open up. And as of right now, I don't see anything that's closed at the moment. There is an area between Sinclair and Rawlins that is yellowed out. When they put a yellow marker in there, that usually means something is going on, but nothing's loaded quite yet to tell me what exactly that means. You can usually click on stuff and get an idea of why something might be closed. It continues to load. But okay, so keep an idea if you're out in that area, and this is between mile marker 207, around that area, is where all of this started and has been just pushing ever since then. And it's not a bad idea to get on the WYDOT website and take a look at what's going on there, because if something closes out, they'll go ahead and put up a marker on it to let you know that the road is closed and why. In fact, as I look over here, there is a road goes from Guernsey and heads north through Hartville. And that section of road is closed. Let me see. It's Highway 270 between Niobrara and Platte counties in Manville. That's closed because of the fire. Then there was some other roads. I know they were having problems. It's open now, but they were having problems on Highway 18. That's an east-west running highway. That was a problem for a while. And then again, there was the one that goes, let me see. Yeah, that was the one I was talking. I think it's Highway 26. That's Highway 18. And that one is the one that goes from Orange Junction over to Lusk. And that was for a little while yesterday. They had it closed, but they have that open right now. So if you want to know what is open or closed, the YDOT, just go ahead and type in YDOT road conditions, and that ought to bring up the map that I was just referring to and telling you guys about. And throughout the day, you can just go ahead and check on that to see how the roads in that area are going. To people who are in the area, just keep listening to these radio stations, because the ones that carry the show. Because throughout the day, as we get more information, we'll go ahead and get that to you as they continue fighting the fires in that area, which we've got a few more days of dry. Today's actually the driest day, and then next week things start to get a little bit wetter, which ought to help. All right, coming up on some local news that we have to take care of after local news update on the weather forecast. David in Graybill. Good morning, Glenn. This is off topic. Oh, okay. I'll take a look at your question in the next half hour. Let's Wake Up Wyoming.
And we're back. Sorry, we were busy tricking pescatarians into eating Rocky Mountain oysters. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
6:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Don't answer David's question. Morning, Dave. This is one of the good Daves. Not the Dave from San Francisco that I pick on from time to time. Because he's a jerk. That's why I pick on him. So, all right. David from Graybill. Morning, Glenn. This is off topic, but why does the state of Wyoming need to change license plates? How much is it going to cost? And why do I have to pay for veterans plates again? So I went ahead and looked that up here. Let me see. Wyoming law. I don't know why. I don't know why they made a law. Wyoming law requires license plates designed to change every 8 years. I don't know why they chose 8 years either. Why not 10? I don't know. And the new design is to be readily distinguishable from the previous design. All designs are required to include the bucking horse logo. Okay. And my thought was that the new one, which is a much darker design, it's got the bucking horse, and in the background, there's a bison with the Wyoming seal on the bison. And I'm looking at it going, okay, I mean, doesn't suck, but the one we had before this was much better. So, okay, let's see, it talks about the design. Wyoming Department of Transportation determines the plate design with the help of communities. Fine. Your vehicle registration has a 2026 expiration. When your vehicle registration does, it will be required to display the new license plate. So most people will get their renewed in 2025. Yes, you can go ahead and pay additional months to push your expiration date forward if you want. No, a vehicle registration that expires in 2026 must display the new plate to be valid. Do they cost extra? No, there's no additional cost. You're going to have to get a new plate eventually anyway, so it's the same cost. Even for your veterans plate, you're going to have to get a new veterans plate eventually anyway. So, in other words, when you are told that you have to get a new license plate, you're going to get this new design. But either way, you're going to get a new license plate. And then, can I get the same number? If your current license plate is in the range of the numbers, okay, you can reserve a number, and talks about cars and trucks. And let's see, will the UW plates be different? YDOT has indicated that the UW plate will be redesigned for the new series. They have not yet released that design. Wildlife plates. Will the wildlife conservation plates be different? It says here, we have not received information about whether wildlife conservation plates will be redesigned. So, personalized plate. If you have a personalized or specialty plate, you will receive a postcard from WYDOT sometime next year with instructions on how and when to reapply your plate. And if you have a permanent trailer plate, the design of the permanent trailer plate will not change, so no action is necessary. So there you go. But I think it comes down to, David, whether you were going to, well, if you're wondering about paying for a new veterans plate, you were going to have to pay for a new veterans plate anyway. Every so many years, WYDOT makes you get a new plate. I wonder if that's because they wear down or something like that. I don't know. But every so many years, you're going to get a new plate. And when you do get a new plate, it's probably going to be a new design anyway, so whether it was a new design or not, you're going to end up paying for this. I still kind of shrug my shoulders and go, okay, I would like at some point, I don't think this is a huge, massive deal, but I would like to hear at some point, so what's the logic behind the whole license plate thing? Why do they have to do this every so often? Every 8 years they decide, somehow or other decided to do this. And there had to be some conversation around why. They wear down or something like that? I don't know. I do know that I have a plate on the front and back of my vehicle. The one on the front, it got really bent out of shape. And then I realized why. I go through a car wash now and then. Car wash has the big beater brushes and all of that. And it just bends the hell out of the plate up front. And I figured that out. I kind of suspected it was the car wash, but I figured that out because I started knowing other vehicles that go through the same car wash as I do have the same bent out of shape license plate. So that right away told me, oh, okay, maybe next time I get these plates, and I think I'll look it up again, but my impression was that you don't necessarily have to have it on the front. They give you to, they would like you to, but I'll look it up to make sure. I had heard you don't have to have it on the front. So I'll go find out. And if I don't have to, I won't, because all that's going to happen is next time I go through the car wash, it gets all bent the hell out of shape. And if you're wondering, why don't I just wash my own car? I don't like to. I'd rather just drive it through the car wash. And it's always interesting to see who is the, for those of you who do drive through a car wash, you ever notice there's always that person kind of waving you in and lining you up so you can get pulled through properly by the machine? It's interesting to see who's there because almost every time I show up, they've hired somebody new, which makes me think that they go through people like crazy. And sometimes it's someone who's actually a little on the impressive side. Other times, oh, dear Lord. I look at it and think, well, this person's not going to be working here very long. And actually, I would like to get them to the hospital as fast as possible for some drug rehab because I doubt they're going to survive their shift. It just depends on where I go. Let's wake up.
Take Glenn anywhere with the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on AM 1030 K2 Radio.
Coming up on 6:49, off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino's waiting by. Frank, I took some time to watch a little bit of Olympics yesterday. The BMX bikers. Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, that was crazy. This is what I watched yesterday.
Yeah.
Among my favorite events, women's beach volleyball.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that is...
Now, I know...
That is must-see TV,
yes.
Glenn.
Now, Frank...
Must-see TV.
While you're watching women's beach volleyball, I don't know if you've noticed this, but there's sand, there's a net, and there's a ball involved.
Yeah, and you don't have to play beach volleyball.
No, you don't.
On the beach because the stadium, and it's a pretty big stadium, is right next to the Eiffel Tower.
Sure, and it's perfect because there is a natural beach.
But then again,
right next to
I could care less about the sand.
That's right. Yeah,
or the Eiffel Tower.
And I know you were distracted, Frank, but there was also an audience there.
Yeah, there was.
Yes, yeah.
The U.S. was playing France, and I don't really know who won.
Really, no, we can't tell.
I wasn't really paying attention to the score.
Those ladies wear the skimpiest bathing suits in the Olympics.
And they do it on purpose, and they don't care what
they don't care because it gets the ratings up there.
Yeah. The other thing I watched yesterday was fencing. And I wish I was having a lunch in Thermopolis yesterday and didn't have the sound on with the TV.
Yeah.
And probably if they had the sound on, I would understand what was going on.
Sure.
Other than that, I was watching him like, well, how did he score?
Yes. See, I was doing the same thing. I watched a little bit of fencing, and my thought was, oh, okay, I'm going to see these guys go at it for a while, and eventually
No, it's not a pirate sword fight.
Oh, no. It is a blink of an eye. They go, and within a blink of an eye, somebody's out.
Yeah. I don't understand. I mean, there's a sound to it, I guess, that you'd be able to hear a beep.
Right.
But with the sound, I'm like, how, what, who?
I don't understand. Couldn't even see the shot, which I thought to me was actually disappointing because I wanted a swashbuckling sword fight. I want something that goes on for like 10 minutes before finally someone scores.
I will turn you on to some movies, old Pirates.
That's what I'm going to have to watch.
It's not in the Olympics, no. All right, in American Legion Baseball, the state AA tournament continues today at Lansing Field in Casper. In yesterday's action, the Cheyenne Hawks eliminated Sheridan 8-4. Laramie eliminated Casper 4-2. Laramie scored 4 runs in the 6th inning. Their pitcher, Brandon Chavez, had 11 strikeouts in the game. What a game he pitched. Cheyenne, the Sixers over Gillette 14-4. The Sixers scored 8 runs in the 5th inning. So today, Laramie and Gillette will play at 1 p.m. in a loser-out game. And the Cheyenne Hawks will play the Cheyenne Sixers at 4 o'clock. The championship game will be tomorrow at 11 o'clock in the morning over at Lansing Field. At the State A tournament in Powell yesterday, it was Powell over Cody 5-4. Powell scored a run in the top of the 7th to win that one. That's 2 straight tournaments, 2 straight state championships for Powell, and they will play in the Northwest Regional in Roseburg, Oregon. In Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies beat the Los Angeles Angels 2-1 yesterday. Brenton Doyle with a long home run for the Rockies. They're 39-70. They snapped the 5-game losing streak, and those 2 teams will play again today. Wyoming Cowboy football team did open up fall drills yesterday in Laramie, so they'll have 19 more practices to go before their season opening game against Arizona State on the 31st of August. Cowboys have 4 starters returning on the offensive line. Boy, that's really, really good. Even better is that they have 8 returning starters on defense, so we'll see how that progresses up until the season opener. And at the Paris Summer Olympics, the U.S. men's basketball team beat South Sudan 103-86. Katie Ledecky in swimming won her 8th gold medal of her career. Amazing. Absolutely amazing, as she was the runaway winner in the 1,500-meter freestyle event, and the U.S. women's soccer team in pool play defeated Australia 2-1. And that's it in sports.
And I did see a little bit of that. First off, I can't tell you how impressed. So here she is pulling out in front of everybody, and I mean way out.
Oh, Ledecky, yeah. It was her and then everyone else.
Yeah, she finished the race and had to stop and wait for everybody to turn around and come back at her.
Yeah, she could have done TV interviews.
Oh, my Lord, yeah.
And then come, you guys done? Okay.
Yeah. I was waiting for her just to get out of the pool and start drying off while she was waiting.
She's 27 years old and plans to compete in the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles.
I bet she'll do just fine with that, yeah.
She was terrific.
Do they still put people like that on boxes of Wheaties?
They should at the end of this thing.
I would hope so, yeah.
She earned a spot on a box of Wheaties.
Oh,
yes.
Absolutely. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business that we have to take care of. And we're going to roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. Then you and I get back into it again. 888-97 Woods, the phone number. That's 888-97-WOODS. Wake Up Wyoming. 7:06 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Thursday, and I swear I can see the weekend from here.
Today's show is sponsored by Firefly Energy Drinks, made with real fireflies. It burns so good.
And it makes your belly glow in the dark. It's really cool. Okay, before I get into the serious news, I found this yesterday, and I right away thought of you folks and thought, I've got to share this with you. It's just too good. This is an old guy. And by the way, I want to be him. He's 83 years old. I get to 83, I want to be this guy. Especially because he is just sharp as a tack and funny.
I am 83 years old. I was in the McDonald's drive-thru this morning. The young lady behind me leaned on her horn and started mouthing some ugly things because I was taking too long to place my order. So when I got to the first window, I paid for her order along with my own. The cashier must have told her what I had done because as we moved up, she leaned out her window and waved to me as she began mouthing, "Thank you, thank you," probably feeling embarrassed that I had repaid her rudeness with kindness. When I got to the second window, I showed the server both receipts and I took her food too. Now she has to go back to the end of the queue and start all over again. Don't blow your horn at old people. We've been around for a
long time, yeah. And so we know we're just a whole lot smarter and wiser. What was that movie, Fried Green Tomatoes? Some kid pulls in and an older woman's trying to get a parking space. Kid in a really hot little car pulls in ahead of her. Hey, you saw I was trying to take that space. Well, let's face it, I'm younger and faster. So the old lady starts ramming the young girl's car and just does all sorts of damage to it and says, let's face it, I'm older and I have more insurance. Okay, great line in that movie. On the serious side, I'm waiting to see what this is all about. You might have heard that with some of the 9/11 masterminds that we've had at Guantanamo Bay, and they're still down there, that there's been a plea deal struck. They were on death row, which I'm really surprised we haven't gotten rid of them yet. They've been down there for how long? Well, I hope they've been miserable, but okay. The story says here, the alleged mastermind of September 11 terrorist attack, 2 other terrorists being held at Guantanamo Bay, will be spared the death penalty under a deal with prosecutors. It was revealed yesterday. The announcement came as a bitter pill to swallow for the victims of the families who have anxiously awaited the conclusion of the case for 24 years, many of whom felt, well, death was only appropriate punishment for the perpetrators of 9/11. A spokesperson for the Office of Military Commissions, which is prosecuting the case, confirmed that it entered into pre-trial agreements with the 2 architects of the Al-Qaeda attacks and 2 co-conspirators, and it names them. I'm not even going to try to pronounce their names. They're these long names. This one guy, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 names in his name. And the second guy has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 names in his name. I'm not going to try to pronounce. I have 3 names, a middle name too. But I mean, that's too much. When you get into 6 and so, that's enough. That's like being in the South. And you meet someone in the South who's got a long, especially a girl, who's got a long series of names. Yeah, it's just too much. Anyway, all of whom have been held at U.S. military prison off the coast on Cuba since 2003. The 3 are charged with the murder of, and it talks about September 11th. Okay, so congressional lawmakers slammed the pre-deal reached Wednesday that will spare the accused 9/11 mastermind and the 2 alleged accomplices from the death penalty, calling it a national disgrace and miscarriage of justice. The Biden-Harris administration, weakness in the face of sworn enemies, they say. The American people apparently, well, Senator Leader Mitch McConnell, he had a long statement about who the terrorists were and so on. Here's what I want to know. Why? What's the deal? What kind of a deal did they make? That's it. As I continue to go through these stories here, I keep looking at, so what deal did they make? Now, in the past, the reason we kept these guys alive is they had information on terrorist cells and terrorist activity, and we were getting information out of them that we were using against terrorists, to capture terrorists, to kill terrorists. Do they still have more information after all this time? What do they have to make any kind of a deal with? After 24 years, I would think they have nothing left. The author of this article says, I hope that someone can eventually explain to us what's supposedly accomplished by cutting the deal, because it makes absolutely no sense. The evidence of the participation of these fiends in the planning and orchestration of the attack is overwhelming. After all this time, why couldn't we simply move forward with the trial? Were they worried that they may not be able to convince a jury and bring back a guilty plea? See, here's what gets me on this. We've been holding them all of this time. There's no trial? We haven't done this? They weren't already on death row? I assume they were, but all right. Surely these three have had a long since said everything they could ever say in questioning to help us with our battle against terrorism. The author says we should have been able to find them guilty and put them in front of a firing squad and invite the victims' families a long time ago. So, and the story continues on. The author of the article rants for quite a while on this, which I understand. He wants to get it off his chest. But I'm looking at this thinking, what deal? Why weren't they put on trial a long time ago? Again, did prosecutors not think they had a case? I don't know the answer. I'm asking the question. I don't have the answers to this. And what kind of deal could they possibly make after all this time? And then I want to know, what is the deal? Okay, so it spares them the death penalty in favor of what? Life at Guantanamo Bay? Is that what the deal is? That they're just going to rot until they eventually die in their cells? I don't know. So that's all I have for you so far, or anybody else has at this point. But the questions are already being asked. What kind of deal did you make? And this better be good. If we made some kind of deal to keep them off of death row, this is something that really better be good. Morning, Rianne. She says, what a slap in the face for the victims and their families. Yeah, if the deal's not good or doesn't have any purpose to it, then absolutely right.
I just saw a bumper sticker that said, I'm a veterinarian. I drive like an animal. And I thought, there's an awful lot of proctologists on the road.
Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Join the conversation at 888-97-WOODS.
And research to help you take control of the situation with your family and manage the disease together. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
All right, a couple of things here. 7:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. First off, thanks to Big Wave over there in Casper. Love it. Hysterical. Can't play it on the air. I was reading, if you're just joining the story, is about some 9/11 terrorists, including what we believe to be one of the masterminds of the 9/11 attacks, who are still in Guantanamo after 24 years. And by the way, can you believe it's been 24 years? But it's been that long. And they reached some plea deal has been reached to keep these guys off of death row. And I want to know why. Did they not have something they could go? Because they've never been to trial with these guys. We're not able to get a conviction after all this time? What's going on? They can't possibly have any more information to give us. And I wasn't going to try to pronounce their names because one of these guys has 6 names in his name. The other guy has 5. Yeah, I don't know. Do you get more names as you get older? I don't know how that works. So anyway, Big Wave said, Glenn, if you have trouble with pronunciations, yeah, this can help you out. And he gave me a video, which is a Saturday Night Live skit, and it's hysterical. But I can't play it on the air. There's no way. Grady in Laramie. Morning, Grady. He said, after what these terrorists did, there should be no deal and should get the death penalty. What do we, as a country, why do we keep these criminals on death row? It costs way too much. Should be like the old days when guilty, use the firing squads. Now, my understanding, Grady, is first off, these guys never were brought to America. The reason we keep them at Guantanamo Bay is the moment we bring them to America, it gets into American court system, and that can get really mucky. It becomes a whole new legal deal. So we've kept them on Guantanamo Bay as prisoners of war outside of the U.S. jurisdiction for that reason. Which is why I don't know, but I kind of wonder, is it because they couldn't bring him to America to get a conviction? I'm not sure how this works after 24 years. And like everybody else, I want to know exactly what kind of plea deal. Did they have the death penalty? Were they waiting for the death penalty? Under what trial? I don't know. So there's a lot of details I want to know about this and what kind of deal, because I doubt it was a deal for information. After all these years, they must have told us everything that they could possibly tell us. So I have no idea. All right. Let's do something different for just a minute. Now, a little while ago, I played this audio for you of an old guy, 83 years old, who played a prank on some young kid who was giving him a hard time for being slow. And it was hysterical. Now, there's another one I've been wanting to play for you guys. I've told you about this, but I don't recall if I've ever played this. This, completely different topic. So this is a dinner party with friends. Now, they're at the house of a couple who they are vegans. But the guy who is approaching in the kitchen is not a vegetarian or vegan. He's a meat eater. And he expects to be treated the same as when he had them over to their house.
Girls want more wine. Over there. So, what are we having, Chef?
Lentil and feta salad and roasted squash.
Smashing. And main course?
That is the main course.
Right. Probably. Well, it's just, I don't eat vegetarian.
What do you mean?
I'm a meat eater.
But, Mark, you know Wendy and I are veggie.
Yes, I know, and when you two came round for dinner, we made you a mushroom risotto. I was sort of expecting you to return the effort. Want some meat, please?
Sorry, I didn't know you felt so strongly about it.
It's an ethical thing. I don't think humans should be treated like this.
Right, what can I say? We don't really do meat in this house.
Oh, come on, you must have some meat somewhere around here. What was that I saw wandering round earlier?
The cat.
That'll do. I'll have that, with some rice.
No, that's the cat.
Look quite lean and gamey.
But it's ours. It's a pet.
You mean you keep an animal in captivity for no reason? That's barbaric. At least pigs are for sausages.
Ah, no, you see, they're not. They're actually highly intelligent creatures.
Oh, yeah, right, they're doing secretarial work on the farm. Come on, they're sausage fodder. Why else would anyone keep pigs?
Well, because...
Pig cheese, pig wool.
Well,
pigs are expensive, pink, and annoying, but they're also delicious, which is why we breed so many of them. There might be a few polar bears left if more people wanted one for breakfast.
What?
Where are the pigs, Daddy? In the zoo.
So you get the idea. I like the bit goes on for quite a bit, and eventually the guy goes looking for the cat. And, of course, I don't know if he ever gets the cat. I never made it that far into the bit. But I just remember coming across that a while ago and thought, what a great turnabout. I mean, if you invited some friends over to your house for a dinner party and they were vegetarian or vegan, to be friendly and to accommodate, you might go ahead and make them something that they would enjoy that did not involve meat. In fact, in some cases, people have a dinner party, and if one person at the table is a vegan or vegetarian, then everybody at the table is going to be the same that night to not offend that one person. Fine. So when you go to their house, shouldn't you expect the same treatment? But you don't get that same treatment, do you? Oh, no. And that's what I think should be considered offensive, that we went out of our way for you, but you won't go for us. Okay. Perfect. Blue Eyes and Douglas. Morning, Blue Eyes. She says, people running this country are really trying to kill our country. We are going to hell in a handbasket if we don't do something fast. Well, we've been going down there to hell in a handbasket for a very long time. It's been a very slow descent, and it just keeps getting warmer in here. So, and I would assume, Blue Eyes, you're talking about the terrorists. Let me go. I'll have to go back and look at it. And I won't be able to do it today on today's show, but I'll go back and take a look at it. I remember when we captured one of the 9/11 masterminds and these other terrorists with these long, insane names. We brought them to Guantanamo and kept them there. And there was a legal reason why we can't bring them to the United States, because all of a sudden they're in our court system in the United States, but we were keeping them as prisoners of war. That was also a sticking point because people wanted a definition of what is a war, because who we were fighting did not have a standing army. It was a group of terrorists. If it was army against army and we captured another soldier, that's one thing. But what do you do when you have a bunch of random terrorists all over the place? You see, legally speaking, that gets into a whole nother realm. And if you're thinking, well, that's just insane. Yes, it is. It's too much. So they decided to solve the problem just to keep these people in Guantanamo on Cuba, which keeps them out of the United States at an international place where we can still consider them to be enemy combatants, which is why they never came to the United States for any kind of a trial there. And yet somehow or other they got the death penalty. Now, how that worked, I don't know. It's been a while. So I'll have to go back and look that up. I still want to know, like the rest of you, what about the plea deal that they to keep them off death row? Plea for what exactly? What did they have to bargain with after 24 years at Guantanamo? I have no idea. I can't imagine what. But some deal was struck. So if I find out something, as soon as I do, I'll let you know. Right now, everybody's kind of throwing their hands in the air going, what the hell is this? All right, coming up on 7:30, local news coming your way after local news, update on the weather forecast. Then you and I get back into it again. Oh, Don Day will be on at 7:45. So we'll talk about several things, including we're in a real dry spell right now as far as dry air. But next week gets a lot wetter, which ought to help the fires that we have in here. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Wake up, Wyoming. Glenn Woods is live on AM 1030 K2 Radio and the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
$7:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming from Cowboy State Daily. This is a scam you got to watch out for. A real estate agent was really paying attention. On the other end of a phone conversation, someone was being cold called here, wanted to sell the property owner's home right out from under the property owner. It's a scam. The headline of the article is here, online scammer tries to sell Casper Mountain land from under the owner. So a lot of online postings look legit. Got to watch out for that. Quote, it contained a Google phone number and an email address that had been my husband's name but was not our email address. Thankfully, they reached out and left a message of the real estate agent did of concern. That would be the Casper realtor Alban Shaw, who said he's been seeing these types of online scams for a few years and they're getting more bold and more frequent. Typically, scammers claim to live out of state and have land they want to get rid of. The goal is to do an online sale and get money transferred to them. Luckily, this is a quote, our little companies have been very diligent and, as far as I know, have prevented anything from making a closing. It's just a way for scammers to try to take advantage of other people. Shaw said most of the time scammers focus on a vacant lot because then potential buyers don't have to go see a home. The targeted land to sell involves absentee owners who live in another state. The scammer pretends to be them. So scammers use homes.com and other national real estate websites to reach out to legitimate agents or contact people via email. That doesn't mean those addresses are bad, but in fact, recently, if she's listening right now, you might remember this. And there was a place that was listed, and it was in Wheatland. And hey, this area is for sale in Wheatland. And I'm looking at it thinking, okay, I know Wheatland enough that I went on to the maps and online, and I dropped down for a street view to take a look at the address in question. And whether I was looking at the satellite view or the street view, I'm thinking, no, what they're picturing here in the ad does not exist at that site. I didn't think so. So the whole thing was basically a scam, right? Sometimes it also helps to show up to the property, but that doesn't always help. So in this case, the listing looked questionable, and a little bit of research, contact information, seller's number was not an assigned number. They checked with other agents in the market who received the same message. Shaw said these same scammers are more sophisticated than others because they do a little bit of research, public records, and so on before they try to do something like this. So be diligent about it. I've often wondered, when I take a look at scammers like this, it takes a little bit of work to put together a deal. To be a con artist like this takes a little bit of work. Now imagine if they put that same kind of work into an honest day's business. To be honest, just be honest. Instead of trying to sell real estate that didn't belong to them out from somebody else, what if instead they just tried to sell real estate? I mean, legit. Then there wouldn't be a problem. Whenever I come across this type of sophisticated criminal, I wonder if they do it in part because it gives them some, I don't know this, but I just wonder, do they do this because it gives them some kind of a rush to scam somebody else? Because the same amount of work that they put into something like this, they could have just gotten a legitimate job and never gotten in any kind of trouble with the law, never ripped anybody else off. They could have been an honest person. So I look at it and scratch my head and wonder why. Psychologically, I don't know the answer to that, and I don't think anyone does. Why do people feel the need to do something like this, to put out scams? I think of the same thing when I look at on the internet, viruses. People will put out viruses for various reasons, sometimes just to be evil. Sometimes they're trying to be extortionists through a virus. There's all sorts of different reasons. And I kind of wonder why. Why do they do this? When, again, if you just went out and got a legitimate job, everything would be okay. Morning, Chet. He's in Yoder. Since Joe is out, maybe Kamala can let the terrorists go. She's notorious for that. Well, maybe. Yeah, we'll see. I'm still waiting, Chet, to see, and it'll be a while, I guess, before we get but people are going to demand answers. Why? Those terrorists are not going to be let go, but there was a plea deal to keep them off of death row. Why? What did they have to deal with? What exactly was the deal they made? I would love to know the answer to that. I know a lot of people would. Coming up on 742, let's get Don Day on the line. Wake Up Wyoming.
Got something to say to Glenn? Use the chat on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app and get your opinions straight to the studio with K2 Radio.
7:45 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Don Day from Day Weather. Don, wow, that smoke has gotten really bad with those fires.
Yeah, it depends on where you are. Some smoke is very thick in some areas. In other areas, it's really not that bad. Depends on where you're located.
Yeah, I know that part of I-80 was closed down for just a little while, Sweetwater area. And then also up in the Guernsey area, around that zone, they closed down part of a highway for a while because of just all the smoke and the fire in the area. Now, today is an extremely dry day, which is not good for the firefighters.
No, the weather for fire activity is about as bad as it's going to be. The only good thing is that we're not expecting very much wind. We had quite a bit of wind yesterday and on Tuesday, and that really caused some problems. Now what we're looking at there's not nearly as much wind, but a super low relative humidity. I mean, we're going to be down around 10, 11, 12% relative humidities by afternoon. And those very low humidities are even continuing into the nighttime hours. And that just is very easy for the fire activity to keep going. It's really hard for the fires to lay down at night when you have that low humidity. And it's going to be like that really through the next 4 days. We do see a little bit of shower and thunderstorm activity in the southeast tomorrow, but that's really about it. It's really not until late Sunday or after Sunday before we start to get that higher humidity air and that better chance for rain.
Right. Higher humidity air is definitely going to help too, but I noticed that so far in the forecast, the chance of rain does not really come to southeast Wyoming or just east Wyoming like we need it until later next week.
Well,
right?
No. So okay. First of all, there might be a few rain-producing thunderstorms tomorrow, but not many. Okay. But I see the monsoonal moisture plume as early as Monday getting those eastern counties. So I don't think you have to wait till late next week.
Oh, good. That would be good because getting some showers over there would definitely be a big help. Now, this weekend, there's also a lot of other activities going on. And I noticed that as we get into the weekend, temperatures are bumped up just a little bit. We're not going to break any records, but it's going to be a warm one.
It is going to be a warm one. This is one of the hottest times of the year. Middle of July, middle of August, this is when we usually have the hottest. There's good reason why it's called the dog days of summer right now, is we're just into that period of time where it usually is the hottest. So if you want to escape the heat, head to the high country.
All right. Thank you, Don. Don Day with day weather. So, okay, there will be some relief coming. It's just not today. Next couple of days, kind of warm and dry is what he's saying. Let's head on over to the icebox. Speaking of cooling down, Frank Gambino is waiting by. And Frank, I found a way to up your golf game. You might actually enjoy this.
Quit.
Well, okay. You would enjoy that, I'm sure.
No, I would not, but my golf game would be better.
Yeah, it would be, yeah.
Because it wouldn't get any worse.
Okay, well, now, here's what I found. So imagine going out to the golf course and lighting it up so when you're looking at the fairway, it kind of looks like an airport runway.
Okay.
With colored lights going up either side.
Okay.
And let's go ahead and not just light up the flagpole. Let's put a light in the hole.
Oh, okay.
That'd be and these are colored lights, so it's really pretty.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, your golf ball is also lit up.
Okay.
So when you hit the golf ball into the night sky, there's a glowing golf ball shooting through the air.
Ooh.
So you can watch it disappear into the grass or the lake below. I wonder if it sinks to the bottom of the pond.
Yeah, and then glows down there?
Yeah, wouldn't that just be so pretty?
Ooh.
Oh, my God. Okay. Oh, my God, we're losing Miss Mary. Okay, she's taking off for the bear trap thing right about now.
Well, of course.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, I thought that in looking at this, I was watching a video of some of these guys playing this golf game, and I thought, okay, all right. That might actually be a lot of fun, and it should be easier to find your golf ball in the grass if it's all lit up at night.
Well, I would think so, yes. You know, okay. I think that's a cool idea, and there are certain, like, 9-hole executive golf courses that are all lit, but not to that extent.
No, see, these guys, they don't have lights on, like big overhead lights, and so on. They just go ahead and put these colorful lights up the sides.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, which does provide some light across the middle, but they don't have overhead big white lights. That way all the pretty colored lights are pretty. Like the light that's down in the hole of where the flag is like, imagine it's some really interesting blue or purple color.
Yeah, you can say to your golf partner, hey, that was a pretty good shot.
Yeah, okay. So especially because, you get to watch the ball arc and fly overhead over there.
Me, I would be so far away from the pretty lights
that
I'd be back in the dark again.
That'd be just fine.
Like, I'm over
then
here.
You got to wonder, even if you do hit your golf ball off to the side and into the grass, you can see it over there.
Yeah.
But do you really want to venture into the grass when there's not a lot of light over there?
I don't know what's in there.
Step into a hole, something like that.
Yeah, you take your chances. Yeah.
I can see some downsides to this. I also want to know, what do they make the golf ball out of? Because, if you're going to make a light-up golf ball, then it's not made out of regular golf ball material.
I wouldn't think so. Or I don't know how they would do that.
Yeah. I was kind of wondering, because it did look really neat when the guy hit the golf ball and it went up into the sky, But my first thought was, and what's that golf ball made out of?
Yeah, I'll buy that one. The American Legion AA baseball tournament moves along today in Casper over at Lansing Field. In yesterday's action, the Cheyenne Hawks eliminated Sheridan 8-4. The Hawks scored 4 runs in the third inning. Laramie Rangers eliminated the Casper Oilers 4-2. Laramie pitcher Brandon Chavez struck out 11, and the Rangers scored 4 runs in the sixth inning. The Cheyenne Sixers, the defending state champions, beat the Gillette Rough Riders 14-4. The Sixers had 8 runs in the fifth inning. So today, Laramie against Gillette at 1 p.m. and the Cheyenne Hawks and the Cheyenne Sixers at 4 p.m. The state championship game will be at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning over at Lansing Field. In the Legion A tournament, the Powell Pioneers defeated the Cody Cubs 5-4 for the state A championship yesterday in Powell. That is 2 straight state titles at the A level for Powell, and they will move on to the regional tournament in Roseburg, Oregon. In Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies beat the Los Angeles Angels 2-1. Brenton Doyle with a huge home run in that game for the Rockies. They are 39-70, and they snap a 5-game losing streak with that victory. Those two teams will wrap up that series today. Wyoming Cowboy football team had their first fall practice yesterday. Hopes are high for this team thanks to 4 returning starters on the offensive line and 8 starters on defense. They'll have 19 more practices in the fall, and their season opener will be August the 31st at Arizona State. At the Summer Olympics in Paris, the U.S. men's basketball team defeated South Sudan 103-86. In women's swimming, Katie Ledecky, the all-star swimmer, earned her 8th gold medal as she won the 1,500-meter freestyle, and the U.S. women's soccer team in pool play, group play, beat Australia 2-1. And Glenn, you have to remember that anybody who wins a gold medal at the Olympics wins $50,000.
Wow.
And that is across the board. On top, other countries kind of wink pay you for medals.
Gotcha.
So it's not really, it's an amateur thing, but really not an amateur thing.
Well, but then again, I would look at the $50,000 as recouping payment to get ready for the Olympics, which has got to be more than $50,000.
Well, there are some athletes that have a job.
Yes.
A second job.
Yep, that's right.
And a third job. Yeah. And they're training for the Olympics.
Exactly,
There's been stories all over like, what does this guy do? Well, he works at Home Depot.
Yeah, right.
These are Olympians.
But he's an Olympian at the same time, But now, if they do win, if they do take a medal, especially a gold, they could be set for life if they play it right.
Well, if you win multiple golds, you're really in business.
Yeah. I mean, just the endorsements alone, you're done.
Oh, yeah.
You're good.
For a while, at least, until you do something else.
Just be smart with your money.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we got to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that national local update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it again. Wake Up Wyoming. 8:06 the time. Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Thursday, and I swear I can see the weekend from here.
Today's show is sponsored by Firefly Energy Drinks, made with real fireflies. It burns so good.
And glows in your belly in the dark. So I am keeping up with you, and we are here at Town Square Media watching the fires that are out in the Goshen County area, and there's some others around the state as well. I know up even in Campbell County and much further west, there's some around the state. It's going to be dry. The air is very dry today as we get into the weekend. And we start next week, though, things start to wetten up a little bit, get humidified, and some showers move into the area. That ought to help quite a bit. In the meantime, watching and trying to keep you guys informed. Watch for closed roads in the area if fire and smoke moves across the area. All right, now, I came across, this is way off topic. I am not going to go over and over. There was a picture of Rachel Maddow. Oh, my God. you'll understand why I said that in just a second. Trying to get away from a lot of the news talk topics when I scan across to see what people are talking about in talk radio and talk television, which used to be news stations like Fox and CNN and MSNBC. It's all talk television now. And it's the same topics over and over and over again. How about something different? This one is different, and it involves talk television. Now, there's actually appeared in USA Today, but the article they referenced is a site I've never heard of before called Play Junkie. I don't know what that is. And they decided to do an article titled, now this title is really important, America's Least and Most Credible News Anchors. Now, the wording of that is really important. The least and most credible news anchors for television, right? Okay. So they go to, for example, Sean Hannity. Pause right there. Sean Hannity is not a news anchor. That's not what a news anchor is. He's a talk show host. Like me, he offers opinion. Okay. So this has nothing to do with news. I don't know why they listed Sean Hannity as a news anchor, because his show is not a news show. It's a talk show that offers opinion, mainly conservative opinion. Okay, so I discount that. I don't think these people know what news is. That's been part of the problem. What passes today as news, we call it news, and that's not what news is. All right, next one. This is where I went, ugh. Okay. Rachel Maddow. That's what, yeah. And it says here, Rachel Maddow, 26% of people say she's not even, she has a 26% rating. In other words, she's mostly not considered credible as a news anchor. And I'm thinking, well, good, because Rachel Maddow on MSNBC is not a news anchor. So again, you see the problem with the article here, what they consider to be a news anchor. Here's another one. It's really bottom of the barrel. Don Lemon, CNN Tonight with Don Lemon. Well, Don Lemon, I don't even think he is he with CNN anymore? I forget. He kept getting in trouble for all sorts of things. But then again, Don Lemon never was a news anchor. Let's see. Here we go. Mika Brzezinski, and she's on Morning Joe on MSNBC. Again, do I need to say? I'll say it. I know you already get the gist of this. Not a news anchor. Also, her favorability rating and her, not just popularity rating, but is she a credible news anchor? And the answer is that's really low. No. For that matter, Chris Matthews. Oh, he's really low. I mean, is he credible at all as a news anchor? And people go, well, no, not at all. Well, of course not. Guy's a nutball. But anyway, Chris Matthews, I've been watching him on television since I was a kid. He's still around after all these years. And he never was a news anchor. He was always a commentator, a talk show host and a commentator. Joe Scarborough of Morning Joe. Also, that is the other half. He's married to Mika Brzezinski. Those two co-hosted the show for quite a while, then eventually they got married. And I'm looking at Joe Scarborough. His ratings are as low as his wife's ratings as far as credibility goes. And once again, I'm looking at it going, not a news anchor. Another talk show host. Tucker Carlson. And I know a lot of you folks out there really like him, but he actually, as far as credibility, no. Chris Cuomo, who is he even on anymore? Again, I don't think I lost track of whether Chris Cuomo was on anymore, because I know there was a lot of controversy surrounding him and things that he said over the years. And again, I'm looking at this going, not a news anchor. Let me see. We got a few. Oh, here's some conservative ones. Laura Ingraham, another celeb commentator. It says, oh, they got that right. They said commentator instead of news anchor, because that's what she is. And she gets a very low rating, too. She is a commentator. One of the lowest. Now, this guy started as a news anchor. Anderson Cooper. Anderson Cooper started as, I remember they used to do, this is when I was in radio way back many years ago, and I was just starting out, and I was doing the overnight shift. In order to get into this business, I started as a disc jockey, which was never my goal. I just needed to get my foot in the door of radio. And since I was doing the overnight shift and a lot of music was being played, and back then I had to play the music by hand. It's not like today where it's just a computer program running, playing the music. I had to be there, and I had to physically play all the music. So I would keep a television on, since I was sitting there all by myself, and they had a late-night television news show that was overnight. And it's where the network was going, I think it was NBC at the time, was going to train new news anchors. So it was Anderson Cooper and Connie Chung as co-hosts overnight. They were very young and just getting started in the business. Back then, Anderson Cooper, and even when he first was moved up throughout CNN and all that kind of stuff, he was actually a news anchor. But then he got into, again, not being a news anchor anymore. Chuck Todd, same thing, not a news anchor. Juan Williams. Okay, again, he is a commentator. I don't know why. Steve Ducey, commentator. All these people, by the way, do not have much in the credibility ratings. Chris Hayes, who is a moron, also, was he MSNBC? Yeah, of course, he's a moron. Wolf Blitzer. Wolf Blitzer started as a reporter and eventually became a news anchor, but not anymore. Lawrence O'Donnell, Shepard Smith. Shepard Smith spent most of his career as a news anchor. And I know that he moved over to CNN, right? Now, I don't know if is he still doing anchoring. So there's a few people when I get near the bottom of the list who actually do reach news anchor status, but the bulk of them are not. So let me go back to the original, starting way back up at the top here. The headline that they put on this, America's least and most credible news anchors. And the problem, and this was in USA Today, the problem with the entire story is, I guess the folks at USA Today don't know what's happening on air. They can't identify a news anchor or a commentator. They don't know the difference between them.
In Washington today, the U.S. Supreme Court handed down a landmark decision. The court reaffirmed the legality of the death penalty on the grounds that it is, quote, totally badass.
Legal experts are already talking about how this clearly marks a trend towards the Roberts Court being less strictly constitutional and more strictly awesome.
If it matters in Wyoming, it matters to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Call Glenn at 888-97-WOODS and make your voice heard. AM 1030, K2 Radio.
8:20 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Okay, so I got a couple of climate change updates for you here, but I found something new to start it out. Now, I have all sorts of beginnings for this. Like, for example, you're used to, I'll just play parts of these. Al Gore's Fire song. That's one popular one here. Remember that one. Car. And then another one, which I thought, I really like this one, and I'm glad so many of you folks out there just love it when I play it.
So put on your respirator and let's fix that generator.
This is a real good one.
And while we're out, we'll mend our fences too.
Apocalypse the Love Song is what this is.
See, I'm not afraid of dying. Just got reasons for surviving. I want one more day in the apocalypse with you.
Now, again, I won't play the whole one here, but the Green Police
so it's 3708.
is a really good song to start the climate change things here. Here we go.
You picked the wrong day to mess with the ecosystem, plastic boy.
Okay, so you know that one. This one I haven't played in quite a while.
If we had some global warming, it wouldn't be 20 below.
So that's a real good one. I should use that one more often. There is a Ray Stevens song, which I haven't played in quite a while, but this Ray Stevens song he did quite a few years ago about global warming, and it's classic Ray Stevens style. It has a good video, but it's very typical of the way he's always written songs.
We have two real pioneers embarking upon a new career.
capitalizing on this global warming hype. Yeah, they're the ones that brought you the left-handed hammer and tried to market a recycled pamper. You could say the Gullible brothers have always been the entrepreneurial type.
And then they get into this whole global warming scam. And the final one, Greta Thunberg. This is something I put together in the studio here. How dare you? Okay, so I found this is a completely new one here. This is just global warming panic.
Here it comes! Global warming! Here comes global warming! We did it, Vision! Come on, hurry! It's right behind us! It's coming the other way! Community center, hurry, go! Get inside, we have to close these doors!
So there you go. That's a global warming panic set in. So let's go through some of the stories here. That one you'll hear pop up from time to time. That's brand spanking new. Okay, so Bravo, net zero fraud begins to collapse. CNBC reports Air New Zealand has become the first major airline, and they are a pretty big one too, to drop 2030 climate goals. And the government of New Zealand, they're really into the whole cult of climate change thing. But all right, Air New Zealand Tuesday dropped its 2030 climate goals, citing delivery delays of fuel-efficient aircraft and affordability of alternative jets. The announcement reflects the scale of the industry's challenge to meet decarbonization goals. Air New Zealand also confirmed its intention to immediately withdraw from the science-based targeted initiative. And I'm going to edit that and say it's not science-based, but all right. Air New Zealand on Tuesday dropped its 2030 climate goals, again, citing deliveries, fuel-efficient costs. The announcement meets with the New Zealand national flag carrier as it became the first major airline to water down its near-term climate aspirations, a move that reflects the scale of the industry's challenges to meet these so-called decarbonization goals. Quote, it's possible the airline may need to retain its existing fleet for longer than planned. As such, given so many levers are needed to meet the target goals by 2030, they're not going to be able to do it. All right, so there's that one. Now, let's go offshore. Headline for you. About that wind farm off Nantucket and the big blade that just kicked the bucket. So it says 2 weeks ago, green fever dreams began washing ashore in chunks. I told you guys about this. This is where some blades had ripped apart and pieces of wind turbine blades started washing up on shore. A massive section of one damaged 350-foot-long turbine blade from a wind farm off the coast of Nantucket, detached Thursday morning, last Thursday, sunk to the ocean floor. A manufacturer says the flaw led to the turbine blade at the Vineyard Wind Offshore project off Massachusetts this month, and it talks about who the producers are. The turbine blade broke off July 13th and left potentially dangerous debris on the beaches of Nantucket and Long Island. U.S. authorities later declared a shutdown of the project. Oh, my God, you're going to shut down the whole wind project? The planet's going to heat up and we're all going to die. The company said it would re-inspect all of its offshore wind turbine blades, check for potential defects. The company has made about 150 blades. It's a Canadian company. The incident is a blow, I guess no pun intended, to Vineyard Wind, the first major U.S. offshore wind farm and national budding offshore wind industry. Only budding because of heavy subsidies, by the way. And the sector is regarded as critical to meeting Joe Biden's climate change goals. They're struggling with problems like this and soaring costs and delays. It's not clear how the revelation of the manufacturer misstep would impact Vineyard Wind's construction timeline. In a regulatory filing, GE said it had installed 24 of the project's expected 62 turbines. Additional turbine parts are awaiting installation. The Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement issued a new suspension clarifying the operation requirements. They're going to suspend everything until all of this is looked into. Okay, now, next story. Let's go to Virginia. So on July 26th, a Virginia governor, a letter warning about a serious risk, he received a letter, a serious risk of blade failure in the giant offshore facilities off of Virginia. The warning builds on the recent blade failure off of Nantucket and Long Island. In the guy who's writing this article presents a technical background, which I won't get into, but the Nantucket blades are made by GE and the world's largest in operation. GE turbine blades have been in production going on for 2 years, and he talks about the problems with all of these blades. The rotational forces found offshore wind turbines, these are immense blades. So you got to imagine, as the wind starts to blow these immense blades around, the pressure put on them. Okay, so just think about it in terms of, let's call it G-forces put on them. Think about it in those terms. And that's what makes these suckers just start to rip apart. They can't take it because they're too big. That's one of many problems out there. Oh, by the way, there's still more problems with whales. Oh, Chet and Yoder, imagine that blade hitting your car. Yeah. Well, yeah. You've seen, I'm sure, Chet, videos of wind turbine blades where the brakes fail, the wind's blowing really hard, the brakes fail, and they start to rip apart. I've seen several of that. And they can fly a long way. A long way. And they could, potentially hit somebody or something. So just some of the problems that they're having getting all of these goals set and achieved. So let's go ahead and put them in areas like Wyoming where there can be a lot of lightning and a lot of hail. Not just bad for the turbines, but for the solar panels, too. Coming up on 8:30 local news, coming your way after local news. Update on your weather forecast, and you and I get into it again. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
No, God, please, no, no! Oh, yeah!
Live and local, all across Wyoming. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Join in at 888-97-WOODS or the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
8:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. So I came across a article. I was looking at USA Today this morning, and I scanned, you wouldn't believe how many news organizations, mostly just monitoring them to see what are they talking about today. Here's one that I thought was really interesting from USA Today. Sky high electric bill? Here is how much summer heat is costing Americans. Now, before we get into this, imagine, I'm just going to toss it out there for you. I mean, I'd call me crazy if only there was a way to produce electricity in an affordable, reliable way, where the cost would be astronomically low, right? And energy would be consistently there. If we ever needed more, we had extreme hot days, which will happen because, summer. And I don't know if you know this, some summers are hotter than other summers. I know, weird, right? But it happens. And so when we have really hot days, people are asking for more electricity than ever before. Wouldn't it be great to have a system? I know you're going to think I'm insane here, but where if we needed more electricity because it really got hot out, we could just crank it up and make more electricity. Yeah, or in the wintertime when it got really cold, we need more electricity to keep warm, just crank it up, there's more electricity, to meet demand. Now, that's not going to happen with wind and solar. If only there was something. I mean, imagine finding some stuff in the ground that we could just go ahead and burn that would make electricity. I'm dreaming. Anyway, the story says, with summer heat waves pushing temperatures into the 90s and beyond, Americans are facing higher electric bills as air conditioners are working overtime and meters are whirring faster. Well, that's called summertime. Nothing unusual there. All right. Each gust of cold air drives up electricity each gust of cool air from your air conditioner drives up electricity, leading to the highest bills ever over most of this country's summer. USA Today analysis of Energy Information Administration forecast showed a 17% increase this summer compared to 2021, with the average bill in June and July, and it talks about how much the costs are going up. So, okay, hang on. So, now I'm listening. I'm looking at this thinking, so the prices keep going. We were told that wind and solar was more reliable and more affordable and cleaner and sustainable. And none of that's true. I pointed out before, not just in Europe, but even in places like California here I was about to say California here in America, but more like California, and then there's America. But in California, for example, well, they put up wind, and they try to go all wind and solar power, and their electricity rates skyrocketed. What happened to affordable? The story says prices are higher because Americans are using air conditioner more as temperatures rise, in addition to lingering effects of natural gas prices spiking due in part to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Is that all they're looking at? With increasing demand of electricity, the adoption of more renewable energy, the story says, and the occurrence of more frequent wildfires and storms. Wildfires and storms are not more frequent. That's another thing they're getting wrong here. Utilities are also investing in strengthening the grid to pass the cost along to consumers. So, if you have an AC and you run it more, well, you're going to have to pay more for that. But what about just the cost of, because it says, well, the cost of natural gas, natural gas has gone up and down, but it doesn't have to keep going up. It can come way down. And the cost of coal can come way down, too, if we use it. The story says these predictions for even higher electric bills are based on this year's weather if record heat levels continue to increase. Well, record heat levels are not. See, this is where, again, they get into, but it just keeps getting hotter and hotter. Actually, no, it's not. And I say that, I'm not just tossing that out there. I've really had spent a lot of time, not just me, but other think tanks out there as well, digging into the numbers. We are not, yes, every now and then there's a hot day out there. Like this weekend's going to be on the hot side, but nothing record-setting. So we're not experiencing more hot days than ever before. That's not happening. Okay, but what is happening is the cost of electricity keeps going up. Rising electric bills add to the financial burdens for Americans who continue to grapple with higher grocery bills, gas prices, as wages fail to keep pace with the rising cost of living. It's called Bidenomics, by the way. But all right. For many, especially low-income families, it becomes a difficult choice between covering essential expenses and running the air conditioner. About 28% of households reported cutting or foregoing expensive food or medicine and so on because of their electric bills. Again, it's called Bidenomics. All regions of the country will see an increase in monthly bills in this summer compared to 2021, ranging from 24% in West Central region, including Texas and Oklahoma, to 6% in western and northern regions, which includes Minnesota, Nebraska, according to Energy Information Outlooks. To determine state-specific changes, USA Today applied the project's regional increase to historic rates for retail electricity. The analysis reveals that households in all but 5 states are likely to see a rise in their summer bills. Now, again, when I take a look at Wyoming here, our bills are not rising anywhere as fast as the rest of the country. The places where they've risen the most, Maine, Florida, New Hampshire, and Texas, likely to see the largest increases. Now, again, they put all of this on natural gas. And in part, natural gas prices have fluctuated and recently gone up. But I'll go back to what I said at the beginning of this. Imagine if there was a source of energy that we could just pull out of the ground. I mean, there it is. And you just burn that stuff and make electricity. It would be really cheap because it's all over the place. I know, I'm crazy. I'm picturing some like black, rocky looking stuff. You know, and you could probably even grind it up and barbecue your burgers with it. Imagine that. What would you call that stuff? Anyway, just imagine that if that stuff was available, as if it's been underground for hundreds of millions of years, just waiting for us to take it out of the ground and make electricity out of it. And then any time that we had a large load of electricity being needed, it was just there on demand. And it was not necessary to subsidize it, because with wind and solar, we have to heavily subsidize what is a failed energy project. But it's always there, always ready to go. And because it makes money, it doesn't need to be subsidized. So USA Today's article here, which I'm just kind of done with, I'm going to click it off and just go away from it. USA Today's article, well, because our summers are longer and hotter, they're not. Because natural gas prices, yeah, they fluctuated. That has something to do with it, but not much. If we just put more renewable, no, that's part of the problem as far as why prices keep going up. It's not cheaper. It's not reliable. It's not sustainable. And again, any place, as I keep saying, any place that's tried to go all wind and solar, their electricity rates skyrocketed. But I guess USA Today doesn't want to take a look at that. I'm guessing they don't. Because they would have to draw the conclusion that, gosh, maybe if we started using coal again. How about that as an idea? What if we just started using something old and reliable? That would certainly bring, instead of shutting down coal plants, let's go turn them back on. That would bring reliability back, but that would also bring affordability back. Let's wake up.
Serious takes on local politics, or something like that. Tune in weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
8:48 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off to the icebox we go, where Frank Gambino is waiting by. Okay, Frank, I'm going to help you translate something next time you are going. Instead of you walking into a coffee shop, I don't think you do that, do you?
No,
No.
It scares me.
I understand
All
that.
I want is a cup of coffee.
Okay, so let me translate for you. Okay. An Americano, black coffee.
It's a regular cup of coffee.
Yes, it is. It's a black coffee. There you go. Okay. I don't know why they call that an Americano.
Okay.
A flat white.
Is that like a latte-ish?
It's a coffee with milk.
Oh. Why did they just say coffee with milk?
I don't know. They got to make it sound.
Oh.
It's like the same thing when they do the sizes of the cups. You want a grande or a venti or just,
why don't you say big?
Small, medium, large.
Yeah.
Okay. Cappuccino is a frothy coffee.
Frothy coffee.
Okay.
But
this
cappuccino,
is where,
everyone knows what that is.
Yes, I think so, yeah. Now, this is where I get into stuff where I argue if it's actually a coffee. I think what I'm about to name for you, these are milkshakes with a shot of coffee in it that doesn't make it a coffee. Okay. It's something else with coffee. But anyway, a latte, a milky coffee. So basically it's frothy milk and they put a shot of coffee in there.
Just a shot?
Yes.
That's not, you need more.
Espresso. It's a tiny little cup of coffee.
Oh, but I've had those actually in Italy.
Yes. Oh my God, yeah. Oh yeah. Wow. Oh yeah. You got it. You can't gulp. That's not a shot. You don't do that like a shot.
No, and you'll be going for the rest of the day.
But just remember that, folks. If anyone ever says espresso, it's just a mini cup of really strong coffee.
Pretty much.
Okay. Macchiato, milk topped coffee. Well, basically, that's like saying a latte, but with even more milk foamed up, and probably something else added in there. A mocha. Okay. So that's like a chocolate milkshake with a shot of coffee.
A chocolate milkshake with coffee.
Yes, okay.
So why don't you say shake and coffee?
Yeah, there you go.
Coffee and shake.
Yeah, there you go. Then, of course, this is from a coffee shop's tea, which is not coffee, and a hot chocolate, still not coffee.
No.
Just so you know those things. Okay. So if you walk into a coffee shop, you what the hell is that? There's your handy guide. Okay, Frank? But Frank doesn't walk into coffee shops.
No, ask the barista, say, I just want the basic. The American AA Legion Baseball Tournament continues today at Lansing Field in Casper. There are 2 games today. Laramie and Gillette will play at 1 p.m., and then the Cheyenne Hawks will play the Cheyenne Sixers at 4 p.m., setting up the championship game, which will be tomorrow at 11 a.m. over at Lansing. Yesterday, the Cheyenne Hawks eliminated Sheridan 8-4 with 4 runs in the 3rd inning. Laramie Rangers stayed alive and eliminated Casper 4-2. The Rangers with 4 runs in the 6th inning. Brandon Chavez had 11 strikeouts for Laramie. That was a great game for him. Cheyenne over Gillette 14-4 as the Sixers scored 8 runs in the 5th inning. So more Legion baseball today at Lansing Field, and the tournament will wrap up tomorrow. At the Legion A tournament in Powell, the Powell Pioneers over Cody 5-4 to win their 2nd straight A Legion championship. Powell scored a run within the top of the 7th inning and held on from there. It really was a well-played game. And now the Pioneers will advance to the Northwest Regional in the A division, and that will be in Roseburg, Oregon. In Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies will take on the LA Angels in Southern California later on today. The Rockies beat the Angels yesterday 2-1 as Brenton Doyle hit a long home run in that game for the Rockies, who now sit at 39-70, and that snapped a 5-game losing streak for Colorado. Wyoming Cowboy football team went through their first fall practice yesterday in Laramie. Now the Cowboys do have enough returning players, certainly enough returning starters, to be competitive this year, and maybe a little bit more than that. 4 starters return on the offensive line and 8 starters return on defense. They'll have 19 more practices to go before the season opener, which will be August the 31st in Tempe to take on Arizona State. At the Paris Olympics, the U.S. men's basketball team, a big winner over South Sudan, 103-86. Remember, the Americans just barely beat that team in an exhibition game earlier this month, or back in July. And women's swimming, Katie Ledecky, the star of the show there, won her 8th career gold medal. 8 gold medals in her career by winning the 1,500-meter freestyle. She's 27 years old and says she wants to compete in the next Olympics in 2028 in Los Angeles. And the U.S. women's soccer team in group play defeated Australia yesterday 2-1. That's it in sports.
Smalls in Casper has something that you would like, Frank. There's a cup of coffee called a Boilermaker, a.k.a. Red Eye. Drip coffee with a shot of espresso.
I'll take 2.
Yeah, okay. The other one is a dirty cold brew, iced coffee with a shot of espresso. Okay. Yeah. Can we do a shot in there, too, for Frank?
Yeah, just a shot.
Yeah, just go ahead, put a shot in there. We'll call it coffee. Because if you can call that milkshake coffee.
No. All I need is a shot. I need to go. Yeah.
That Frank's coffee.
Yeah.
Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business that we're going to talk about, then we're going to get into news time. National, local update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it again. Oh, I do have a story for you next hour. We're going to go to New York City and talk about their COVID response. Years later, we can look back and see how bad it was. All the mistakes, things are being reviewed. It's about time. Wake up, Wyoming. Next week. Six the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Thursday, which means I can see the weekend from here.
Today's show is sponsored by Firefly Energy Drinks, made with real fireflies. It burns so good.
And lights up your belly when you drink it at night.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
So I'm going to go back a ways. I remember when the whole COVID thing started. At the time, I was saying to some people, like I remember my producer, the lady Alex, I was saying it's going to be really interesting. They're giving us all this stuff that's supposed to be indisputable information about COVID and how government is handling COVID. And if you dare say anything otherwise, why, God, you need to be censored, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, it's going to be interesting to look back years later and see what actually happened. What did they think was effective and what was not? Now, I noticed something while we were going through the whole COVID thing. Let's just take a look at vaccinations. Mask wearing too, we'll do, but in social distancing. Those people, those communities that did everything that they were told to, get your shots, wear masks, social distance, those communities you would think would have fewer cases of COVID. And those people who didn't do what they were told would have more cases of COVID. But the numbers were inconsistent. Some communities that did everything they were told to do had fewer cases. Others had more cases. And for those people who didn't do anything, no mask wearing, no shots, no social distancing, some communities had far more cases, some had far less. And I was wondering, why are those numbers inconsistent? And am I the only one noticing this? Well, over time, different news organizations, including New York Times of all people, and came out noticing the exact same thing. I even noticed that those people who got their shots, when I say shots, the original shot plus all the boosters, all that kind of stuff. So you would think, well, if you got your shots and you did better than people who didn't get their shots. Even Biden was saying COVID is a disease of the unvaccinated. Well, Biden has had his shots plus all of his boosters, and he got sick multiple times. So did his wife. So did his staff. And I noticed several people who I knew who got their shots and all of their boosters and so on, and they got COVID. Now, some people would make the argument, yeah, but they didn't get it as bad. Not necessarily true. I know some people who got all of their shots, and yet they still got it really bad. And other people who got their shots and got nothing. I didn't get any shots, and I never got sick. But I think it just depends. So why are numbers so inconsistent? And that's where I was saying at the time, it's going to be interesting to look back years later and see. And we've just really started getting good statistics in. And in the next few years, we'll get more. Here's part of a story. More than 4 years after the eruption of 2020 COVID pandemic, New Yorkers still have no reliable, independent assessment of how well their leaders responded, which is why the state comptroller is right that New York still needs an independent commission to review the state's response. In a recent Times Union op-ed, this comptroller ripped a $4 million report by the Olson Group, which he had commissioned, riddled with errors and inadequacy in helping the state prepare for the next pandemic. Without such comprehensive reports, it's hard to hold anyone accountable for failures to be better prepared next time. And I think part of the problem that we're going to find there is those people who did not do, those agencies that didn't do well, which were most of them, who really screwed things up. You think they really want to be forthcoming with information about how much they screwed things up? Well, of course not. So finding good data and information over time is going to be really difficult, especially for those agencies that were just riddled with failure. Even things like government printing and handing out money, because we were shutting down businesses. Remember, we shut down the economy. So we're going to hand money to businesses so they can keep running. And that was wrought with fraud. How deep fraud? Well, we know how much money disappeared into the ether. But we have to have a lot needs. Some of it came back, but most of it's still just gone. What happened to it? Lots of fraud. How do you prevent that in the future? Well, I'd say one way is don't go handing out money like that. But all right. And this study, the story says, was touted as being an exploration of the lessons learned from the state's response to the pandemic. What measures were effective? Which went awry? Most importantly, virtually every medical experiment agrees that another pandemic is on the way. We don't know what the disease will be or when it will come, but it'll happen. And that is true. So at some point, we'll deal with it. Remember the Spanish flu? Go back that far. So at some point, yeah, there'll be another pandemic thing. It'll happen. When, what it will be, we don't know. Should we have some kind of response? Absolutely. How did we do on the COVID response? I would say miserable failure. This author says, let's take a brief stroll down memory lane to put this into context. So you may recall that the governor's mansion, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, former CNN anchor Chris Cuomo, his brother, was driven from office in shame, largely because of numerous accusations of sexual impropriety against him, but also of his handling in response to the pandemic. Many of the charges the sexual charges were dropped against him, but as far as how he decided to handle COVID, well, again, that did not go well for New York City. The new report also continued to repeat inaccurate Centers for Disease and Medical Service data related to nursing home deaths. Oh, and the number of people who died from COVID in general, as you know, was grossly misreported. Because if somebody, let's say, somebody got into a car wreck and they died because of the car wreck, but they had COVID at the same time, the death would be listed as COVID. There was a lot of that, too. So a lot of misreporting of information and data. This was a mess. This whole thing was just a big mess. I think one of the things we need to learn from it is that when something like this happens again, and again, it will happen at some point, it will happen again. Do we trust those in government? We would like to say that, hey, trust those in government. They know what they're doing. They'll help lead us through this. Who we currently have in office right now, they have no idea how to lead us through this. No idea at all. Morning, RA. She's in Wiggins, Colorado. Hi, Glenn. Check out information on what happened to the number of instances. The common cold and flu during that same COVID-19 was off the charts. Yeah. We have a lot to learn here, RH. We have a whole lot to learn, but it's very difficult to figure it out when the very people that we need to talk to about their response are hiding information about their responses because they either blew it or were involved in corruption or, Let's wake up, Wyoming.
Almond milk? Who bought almond milk? That's not a thing, is it? I mean, you can't get milk from almonds. Almonds don't even have udders.
Yep, there you have it. A new level of crazy. And you heard it here first. Covering world-ending catastrophes for years to come. It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Find content, chat live, and listen on demand on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
9:21's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. All right, different story. I'm already doing house cleaning, and it's not quite Friday yet. But this one is really important since we're coming up on an election cycle. So, okay, we'll go to Ohio for this one. They're purging inactive voters that are on the list, which, of course, would be a very good thing, right? And many of the voters on the list that they're purging also were never residents, not just of Ohio, but of the country. Toledo, Ohio, and of course, Toledo is where Klinger was from MASH. Nearly 160,000 inactive voter registrations are about to be removed from Ohio's voter rolls ahead of this year's presidential election, including thousands in Northwest Ohio. State and federal law requires officials maintain accurate voter rolls. Secretary of State published a list of names about to be removed, which they have to do. We even do that in Wyoming. Every state has to do it. These registrations are ineligible for removal under the law because records show they no longer reside actively here. The list has been provided by my office, et cetera, for oversight. All right. Now, it is true. This has happened many times in the past. I've come across stories of people who have lived in multiple places just because their job moved them around, whatever the case is. So they ended up registered. They ended up registered to vote in several different states. They weren't trying to commit fraud. They moved over time, and they ended up being on the register rolls in more than 2 states. 2 states bad enough, but something like 3, 4 states. Then, because it's a presidential election and this is really important, they decide that they can go ahead and vote absentee several times over, which is fraud, but they do it anyway. So that's one of the reasons for purging the rolls. Because now that's never enough to change the result of an election. I mean, a few people doing that is not going to overturn an entire election, but it does happen, and it is fraud. That's one of the problems. Then there are the number of people who were not even in this country legally that were on the voters list as well. So that's something that they're looking at in Ohio and some other places. I know some years ago in Florida, that was a problem. They were going through the voters' rolls, and it was a big controversy. I don't see why that was a controversy at the time. It was a big controversy, though, to take a look at who was on the voter rolls and who was in the country legally. And then they just started purging. Now, let me go out to, let me see, I'll get down to my vote file there. Okay, I don't see it here. Years ago, I came across this theory as to why, and I think it's a good thing, that so many dead people vote Democrat. I think that the Democrat parties, because their heart's always in the right place, the Democrats. Their hearts are always in the right place. So the Democrat Party wants to make sure that dead people do get a chance to vote, so they go out to graveyards and collect names. Or maybe they just go and look up the voter rolls of just dead people. And are they registered this year? So it's a get out the vote campaign. If you wonder why I think this is a good thing, well, we in America, in part, fought a revolution over taxation without representation. Now, do we tax the dead? Yes, we do. Do the dead get accurate representation in elections or anything else? No, they don't. We pretty much ignore them. Well, they're so quiet, so they pretty much get ignored. So what the Democrats are doing is making sure that the dead are represented since we tax them. That's the American way. Now, if you're wondering why they always vote Democratic, it's because, brain dead zombies. Okay? All right. See, the Democrats do something now and then that's actually compassionate and good.
Darling, would you fetch me a beer on the fridge?
So, I know everything about the Kardashians, Beyonce, and stuff like that. But I know nothing about who my governor is or whoever runs the state. So this year I'm doing my patriotic duty and stay out the vote.
Thank you, darling. I can give you every major stat for the Rockies for the last 15 years, but I can't tell you who the mayor of Denver is. That's the reason why this year I'm doing my patriotic duty and stay out the vote.
Too lazy to stay informed? Then stay home. Stay out the vote. Your country is counting on you.
I don't know about you, but I've been getting a whole lot of these ads that show the opposition in black and white. They're these big cards, bigger than if it was, let's say, just a card to get someone on vacation, But they're big cards, and on one side is the candidate they want you to vote for in full color, and on the back side, the other opposing candidates in black and white. And, of course, there's television commercials out there doing the same thing.
This election, your choice couldn't be more important. Our candidate is in flattering lighting in full bright color. Their candidate is in grainy high-contrast black and white, spotted through a telephoto lens from behind a bush, coming back from God only knows where. Our guy points at the horizon and holds a baby. Their guy doesn't have a baby. Their guy has a golf club. The voiceover for our guy is calm, measured, bright. Their guy gets the lower register. And sometimes we slow down. Our guy has clean headlines and the beautiful lens flare America needs. Here's a scary graph over a photo of their guy awkwardly laughing. Snap zoom. Do you want a snap zoom like that in office? Here's a photo of our guy saluting military veterans. Jump cuts, flashes, static, aggressive colors. You can't trust a guy with graphics like this. Our guy gets stock footage of sunrises and an American flag. Their guy's flag is upside down and on fire. Intercut with overdue bills, war, and a crying baby. Our guy gets doctors and astronauts and stimulus checks. Flatline, an eagle, hurricane, the Statue of Liberty, crime scene tape, Ronald Reagan, a girl running in a wheat field to escape a dangerous sexual predator, welding, atomic bomb. This election, the choice is yours. Their guy or our guy. Inspiring slogan.
I've been getting a lot of mailers like that, and I've been watching a few television commercials that are pretty much doing the same thing. Now, I just got, and I'm going to send it to him here. Sonar, he's over there in Rollins. Glenn, where do I find out who will be on my ballot in November? Now, I do have a partial answer for you, and I'm going to send you a link in just a bit. I did a story on the Wake Up Wyoming website, and maybe I'll go ahead and republish that as we get closer to the election. But here it is. Who's running your district? But what I don't have that goes with it is who's going to run for, let's say, your city, county, stuff like that. In which case, it might be a good idea to go to your county elections office and just ask there. And you can actually just look that stuff up online to find out who's running in your offices there. There's also, look at something called Ballotpedia, and they're pretty good at it too. So there you go. I just sent a link to you. That'll help you get started, but some of the smaller races aren't going to be listed there. But that information is available online or down at your elections office. Local news, weather forecast, Wake Up Wyoming.
The only show broadcasting from a bunker under Devil's Tower. Hey, it's cold down here. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, 6 a.m. weekdays on AM 1030 and FM 95.1.
9:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. All right, so Rick of Cheyenne says, Glenn, about that Firefly energy drink. Now, if you haven't heard it, the daily sponsor is this.
Today's show is sponsored by Firefly Energy Drinks, made with real fireflies. It burns so good.
And, of course, if you drink it at night and go outside, it lights up your belly. So, Rick wants to know, is it safe to wash down with bean burrito, asking for methane Green New Deal freaks everywhere? Well, I thought about that for a moment, and
They say cows are bad for the environment because all they do is eat plants and fart. Just like vegans.
You see, if you are a vegan or a vegetarian, you have more gas, therefore are contributing to climate change. So take that. People who eat a heavy diet of meat are not as gassy as you guys. So who's really hurting the environment here? Okay. Now, for those who missed it earlier this morning, I got to replay this for you. This is an old guy, and he is being harassed by a younger person. See, you think he's old and he can't handle himself. But old people have experience.
I am 83 years old. I was in the McDonald's drive-thru this morning. The young lady behind me leaned on her horn and started mouthing some ugly things because I was taking too long to place my order. So when I got to the first window, I paid for her order along with my own. The cashier must have told her what I had done, because as we moved up, she leaned out her window and waved to me as she began mouthing, thank you, probably feeling embarrassed that I had repaid her rudeness with kindness. When I got to the second window, I showed the server both receipts, and I took her food too. Now she has to go back to the end of the queue and start all over again. Don't blow your horn at old people. We've been around for a
long time, and we know how to handle people like you. And then there was something I played last week about it's a teacher who has to teach 8th graders. And you can imagine
things that my 8th graders have said to me. Are you in therapy? You seem like the type. You look like my grandpa's couch. A student got the answer right and yelled, yeah, I felt that one in my nuggets. Your pants look like trash bags sewn together. Ha ha, trash bag pants. I don't get why you write so much on my rough draft I'm not reading all that, bruh, for real. Miss Dugan, the toilet paper in this school sucks. I just got dookie on my hand. Fat ass alert. That one ended up being about me. I was eating some crackers. And finally, how does it feel to be the only unmarried teacher in this school?
Yeah. So after I played this, and I know you guys were laughing along too, unfortunately, that means, according to the management of this company, we have to do the whole be nice pledge. And I have to do it. See, we don't have to do it. I have to do it. But if I have to do it, you have to do it. You know the drill all together now.
Be courteous, kind, and forgiving.
Kind and forgiving.
Be gentle and peaceful each day.
Gentle, peaceful, sure.
Be warm and human and grateful.
And fuzzy, warm and fuzzy.
And have a good thing to say.
Or don't say anything at all.
Be thoughtful and trustful and childlike.
Childlike, immature, easy.
Be witty and happy and wise.
Wise, I'm not so sure about.
Be honest and love all your neighbors.
Except for that jerk up the street.
Be obsequious, purple and clairvoyant.
Love clairvoyant.
Be pompous, obese, and eat cactus.
Trying to lose weight.
Be dull and boring and omnipresent.
Never boring.
Criticize things you don't know
That's
about.
all I do all day in this program.
Put a live chicken in your underwear.
Carl.
Put a live chicken in your underwear. Go into a closet and suck eggs. Go into a closet and suck eggs.
There you go. Okay. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, the latest Trump commercial for radio.
Donald Trump and U-Haul are teaming up for the ultimate moving deal. So, here's the scoop. Donald Trump has a brilliant idea. He's offering free U-Hauls to all Democrats who just can't with his next term. That's right, folks. Pack your bags, grab your maple syrup, and wave goodbye to the good old USA. And move to Canada. After all, it's the Democratic dreamland. Universal health care, anyone? Trump's campaign even has the slogan, "We'll miss you," eh? So, if you're a Democrat ready to make the great escape, don't forget to book your U-Haul. And maybe brush up on your French. Au revoir, mes amis. And for the rest of us, let's just sit back and enjoy the show.
And don't forget, I've started this whole volunteer organization if you guys would like to get involved. Anybody with a pickup truck or any kind of truck at all, you can haul some stuff. All of the lefties out there who said that they were going to leave the country if Trump is reelected, we're here to help. And as soon as the election is over, if it's Trump, we're all going to be at their houses ready to go. And we're not even going to ask. We're just going to say, you're welcome, as we load up all of this stuff and drive it to the border and just dump it on the other side of the Canadian border. That's all you have to do. Just drive up to the Canadian border, dump it on the other side, call it.
And we're back. Sorry, we were busy tricking pescatarians into eating Rocky Mountain oysters. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
$9:47 coming up on 9:48. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off I go to talk to Frank Gambino, who's over there in the icebox. Frank, I just solved a major problem once again here in this program.
Oh, you did?
I did.
I didn't know we had any problem.
Please. So, plenty. Here is a sign. Handicap parking, towing enforced, right? Okay. Someone put a sign underneath it. Looks very official. Stupidity is not a handicap. Park elsewhere.
Makes sense, yeah.
Okay. Now, I still suddenly thought, we do have a really tough time getting people to not park in handicapped spaces.
I don't understand. It's well marked, number one.
Yeah.
Two, they need to park there. I didn't think there's some people actually that have handicap stickers.
Right.
That really don't need handicap stickers.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I've seen that. I saw a guy, he was in Tampa, he pulled into a handicapped parking place in a hot sports car, got out, took the handicap thing you're supposed to hang from your mirror, just kind of tossed it on the dash, and just walked right into the store. Like, why are you in a handicap spot?
Yeah. It's like you're saying that the car is handicapped,
I guess so.
And you're not. I drive around. My mother had handicap plates, and it was a godsend.
Oh yeah.
We parked at the front row of the grocery store, the train station.
Yeah.
But
everywhere.
Those are for people who legitimately need,
When I was taking care of my dad, I had one of those, but I only used it when my dad was in the car with me.
Right, yeah, exactly,
But then the other part of that sign is what gave me the brilliant idea. stupid people park elsewhere. So if you put a sign up, stupid people parking only.
Or stupid people can park right here.
Yes. See, now nobody
Which is
wants,
at the back of the lot.
Yes.
Way over there across the street.
But nobody wants to be considered stupid. So nobody will park there. I'm not parking in the stupid person's spot. People are going to think I'm stupid.
Oh, well, in that case, you want to put the stupid parking right near the front.
That's right, right up front. Okay, so what we do is the stupid person parking is really the handicap parking. We tell all the handicap people that.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. It's really for you. But it's going to keep all of these obnoxious people who park in your spot away from your spot, because they're not, or for those people who have hot sports cars and they like to park in like 2 or 3 spots.
Oh.
Okay, put up a sign that says ugly cars only.
Yeah.
Now there's no way they're going to put their hot sports car in 3 spots for ugly cars only.
Yeah. But if you put the stupid parking, I mean, literally right next to the handicap parking.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, literally right next to it. You're the next section.
Yes. Ugly people only. See,
ugly people only and stupid people only.
Yes. Okay. So obnoxious, words I can't use on the radio, people only. That isn't me.
You know what?
Yes.
To park that close, like me, and I think most people, I'm stupid and ugly, but I'm parking right here.
I might just pull up and go, fine, I'm stupid and ugly.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, American Legion Baseball, that AA tournament continues today at Lansing Field in Casper with a couple of more games. In yesterday's action, the Cheyenne Hawks eliminated the Sheridan Troopers 8-4 thanks to 4 runs in the 3rd inning. Laramie Rangers eliminated the Casper Oilers 4-2 with 4 runs in the 6th inning. And Brandon Chavez, their pitcher, struck out 11. Cheyenne beat the Cheyenne Post 6 over the Gillette Rough Riders 14-4 with 8 runs in the 5th inning. So today at 1 p.m., Laramie will take on Gillette, and the Cheyenne Hawks will take on the Cheyenne Sixers at 4. The championship game of the state AA tournament will be at 11 a.m. tomorrow. The if necessary game will follow. In the state A tournament, the Powell Pioneers over the Cody Cubs 5-4. So that's 2 straight state titles for Powell in the A division. And that game went 8 innings. It was really a really well pitched game, well played game. So Powell advances to the Northwest Regional in Roseburg, Oregon. At Major League Baseball, the Colorado Rockies will be in Southern California to take on the Los Angeles Angels. The Rockies beat the Angels yesterday 2-1. Brenton Doyle with a long home run in that game for Colorado, who sit at 39-70. They did snap a 5-game losing streak with that. The Wyoming Cowboy football team started fall drills yesterday. This team has a lot of potential, although some people feel that they may only win 6 games. Well, I don't know. We'll see about that. The Cowboys do have 4 returning starters on the offensive line and 8 returning starters on defense. They'll have 19 more practices before their season opener, which will be on August the 31st against Arizona State and Tempe. And at the Paris Summer Olympics, the United States men's basketball team over South Sudan 103-86. In women's swimming, Katie Ledecky just continues to shine. Her 8th gold medal of her career in the Olympic Games, winning the 1,500-meter freestyle. And the U.S. women's soccer team in group play defeated Australia yesterday 2-1. That's it in sports.
So why do people think the Cowboys won't do all that well?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they do have a new quarterback. Yeah. And there's other teams, obviously, I think they at least on paper, have more talent.
Mm-hmm.
But you have that experience.
Right.
Is an intangible that maybe not a lot of teams have. And you have a new coach, and Jay Savell, and the offense is going to be different. I would hope they would win more than 6. I think they can. I think they think they can win more than 6.
Okay. Let's see what happens. Well, it's just way too early for critics like this.
Oh, yeah. We got a long way to go.
All right. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we got to take care of. We're going to roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. And we get into Friday's show, which, of course, is tomorrow. So we'll have a lot to go through. A lot of house cleaning tomorrow. Oh, and we're getting ready for those in the Casper, Wyoming area, or if you want to go up to Casper this weekend, Bear Trap Music Festival, which I'll be at this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Hope to see you there. It's Wake Up Wyoming.